a follower of Jesus. It's the most important thing in my life. The most healing, healthy thing for the human brain is a belief in God and prayer. Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Loyd, and welcome to the Spiritual Laws of Nature. Today we're actually going to cover two because they're both very short, and I think these are both things that will give you really something big to think about this week and chew on and even apply if you decide maybe you've got an issue here or help someone that you love. The first one, and this is something that occurred to me in a painful situation I had a number of years ago. And I had this thought go through my head: no one wants to be brave. Okay? Now, you may just in general think, if I have situations come up in my life, I hope I'm a brave person. I intend to be a brave person. But when the actual situation hits you where you have to be brave or not, nobody wants to be brave, because to be brave means you've got a situation in your life that's scary that you don't want, okay? And we try to avoid those situations. We try to arrange our life so that those don't happen. So, no, I don't want to be brave. I want to not have a situation come up where I need to be brave. Well, the problem with that is there is no path that has no pain. Every path you can take in life has pain. And typically, it's paradoxical, the paths that seem like they would be the easiest way very often end up being the most painful. That Road Less Traveled poem in the book by M. Scott Peck, it's true. The road less traveled that may be longer and harder is way more than 50% the best road in my experience. So, no one wants to be brave. And let me refer back again. I just referred to Dr. Peck, who wrote The Road Less Traveled. He was a medical doctor and a psychiatrist, a brilliant one, in my opinion. But he wrote another book where he talked about to get to your best life, and I've talked about this before. There's a problem. There's several steps involved, and one of the steps is called chaos, and chaos means pain. And I believe he wrote in that book that in his experience, most people, when they hit the pain, when they hit the chaos, they turn around and go the other way to comfort, okay? But the problem, to get to your best life, to get to the best end result of any situation, you typically, at some point or other, have to go through pain to get there. Well, most people don't. When the pain hits, they fight, freeze, or flee and get away from that pain as fast as they can. And for most people, that means going back to something comfortable. Well, the problem with that, a term in the 70s in America, breaking the cycle, you'll never do it if every time you hit pain, you go back and run for comfort. The only way through the chaos is to be brave and to say, no, I'm not going to run, fight, freeze, flee. I'm not going to do any of that. As painful as this is, I'm going to grab hold of it and I'm going to do my best to bring it to the absolute best resolution possible with as good an attitude as possible. Okay? I'm not running back. I'm going to deal with this as best I can. All right? Well, when you do that, you go through the chaos to the other side with a better situation, with whatever that thing was, or a better life in general. Okay? So, think this week, when something painful hits, and absence or taking away a pleasure can absolutely be painful. That's one of the reasons pornography, I believe, is the biggest addiction in the history of the world now with internet and all of that, all right? Boredom can be painful. So when pain hits, what do? Do you tend to run away? I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to hear about it. Change the channel. Do you freeze? You're just sort of stuck until something changes with this, and it's just sort of like this. Do you fight back? But it's not dealing with it in a good way. It's dealing with it in a bad way, where it may end up exploding it or making it worse, or especially making relationships worse. All right. Or do you say, okay, yeah, this is painful, but I'm going to deal with it in truth and love as best I can to the best conclusion possible for me. All right? When you do that, you go through the pain, through the chaos. The pain and chaos actually became a learning and growing experience for you that takes you to a little higher plane in your entire life every time you do that. So take a look this week to see which of those do you do the most, and how can I start dealing with it in truth and love to a good resolution, maybe even the best resolution. So when pain comes, are you going to be brave, or are you going to fight, freeze, flee, basically go back to comfort? If you do, you'll be doing it all your life. If you deal with it, you will deal with it, and then you'll move on to something else and a higher place in your life. So the next time pain comes, choose to be brave. Nobody wants that, but choose to be brave. And I think it'll change your life, as bravery and courage almost always does. So many of the songs, movies about that, etc. All right, second issue I call unconscious selfishness, where you have had programming, pain in your life, things that happen to you that they do to all of us, misinterpretation of things that happen to you, everything you've ever imagined, all of that stuff is in there and is part of your programming. Well, if that programming is too much to the negative or to fear instead of love, it creates what I call unconscious selfishness. And the best way to tell if you have unconscious selfishness is comparison, criticalness, and judgment. Comparison, criticalness, and judgment. So this week, think, okay, when just walking through my day, someone pulls out in me in traffic, I'm having a conversation with my wife, a project at work maybe isn't going so great. Do I start to compare, become critical, and or make judgments? That was their fault. They shouldn't have done that. I never should have been given this. It's my boss's fault. Or do you deal with it in calmness, peace, truth, and love? Okay? Unconscious selfishness is an automatic defense reaction from that wrong, painful programming that's inside us. And again, if you do tend to act in comparison, criticalness, and judgment, it's almost guaranteed you have unconscious selfishness in you. All right? So pray about that. All right? Pray without ceasing. Start thinking about these things, what's true, lovely, excellent, worthy of praise. Realize that to the degree that you judge, you are going to be judged. All right? We are to look at others just as we are looked at through the lens of God's grace and love, not just in criticalness, comparison, and judgment. All right? So use the tools that we have that can change these things in minutes or days instead of months or years. Use Trilogy, use memory engineering, use the rapid eye stress release, use turning it into a prayer, use Viktor Frankl's thing about creating the powerful energy-producing memory from the past and one from the future and one for any particular issue in your life, and let those become power sources that heal the criticalness, judgment, and comparison. All right, and that absolutely can happen. So use all these tools to heal your unconscious selfishness. Okay, some of that you may know about, but chances are a lot of it is unconscious to you or even generational. But again, the way you tell if you have it, comparison, criticalness, and judgment. So if you do, work on that until all of a sudden you're not being nearly as critical. And maybe people around you even remark to that. You've been what's the deal with you? You've been way more positive. What's going on? Or giving people grace and the benefit of the doubt instead of judgment. And that, boy, there's a huge feeling for them of how much better that feels. And then the comparison, which will drive you crazy. And all of the comparison is really designed to say, I'm better than some people, but not as good as others. And I try to think more about the people I'm better than to make me feel good. Well, with love, joy, and peace, all of that is out the window. All right? I'm no better, no worse, but I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, perfect by God, loved by God, saved. I mean, that's positive, all right? So if what's coming out of your mouth and in your head is negative, when your spiritual reality is very positive, it means you're being deceived, you're being tricked, you're being lied to by your own programming and by demons as well, I believe, okay? So when the situation comes up with pain, choose to be brave. And do you have unconscious selfishness? If you do, man, fix it today and your life is significantly different tomorrow. Guaranteed. All right? Plus, we're not supposed to live that way. Unconscious selfishness is selfishness, which means seek pleasure and avoid pain for me. And yeah, I'm okay with that for you too, as long as it doesn't affect the part that's for me. If it affects the part that's for me, then I'm going to manipulate you in order to get the pleasure and get away from the pain that I need to do. Okay, so unconscious selfishness is still selfishness, and it'll cause you to live a life you don't want to live, almost like a puppet on a string. So heal the ones you know about, heal the one that almost always are trauma-based, pray that the ones you don't know about will be healed. Use the tools. These are two critical issues in your life. Bravery determines if you get to your best life, because you're always going to hit pain and think about going back. And unconscious selfishness can bring down every single role and area of your life all at once. Which means if you heal it, they'll all go up. All right. Hope that is some benefit for you today, and have a wonderful, blessed day.